intro video made. Because right now, like, it literally just clipped. We're live now.
Okay.
So it just clipped directly to be live. So I need, like, got to get in the lab, make a solid intro video. Welcome to everybody as they're coming in. But yeah, I feel like a solid little intro / countdown would be nice. But yeah, just got to go over to X real quick. I'm going to post this out.
Drop me the link. I'll do the same.
I think it should just be right here. Oh shoot, this is going to have like picture in picture for everybody. I got to do it on a different one. Okay, let's see this. 1 second. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. While I'm figuring this out for posting, it is good to see you. It's good to be back. Got Crypto Paradigm on with me right now. The man, the myth, the legend is, you might call him the king of silver himself. Dyme, how is it going, man?
Pretty good. It's nice to be a little vindicated on silver. It needs to go to $1,000 an ounce though before I'm really feeling comfortable.
$1,000 an ounce.
Yeah, we'll get into it, but that's obviously not happening anytime soon. But.
I was gonna say I dug through some of your posts, and I've got a few different targets, a few different things that I looked at that I want to look through. Before going any further, y'all, what I want to do real quick, go over to my profile. Anybody that's there, I just shared the post right now, so it should be up. If you guys could give that a like, give it a repost, go ahead and drop a comment, do all the above. The more people in here, the more fun. Okay, now that that's taken care of, again, I want you guys to go follow the man, the myth, the legend that is on the screen to the right. That beautiful looking Bold Leonidas PFP, which, dude, I'm jealous of. I need to get a Bold PFP.
I gave him $1,000 for it during the peak 2024 meme coin cycle. I don't know what he's charging these days, but I'm really glad I bought it. And
I actually feel like that's not a bad deal because, like, he's continuing
to use it every day.
Yeah.
And it's iconic. It's crypto native, and honestly, it's just nice to like help the homies out when it's like Bold wasn't nearly as famous when I first bought this, and I like it. And he even gave me like Santa versions and some other customizations for it that I use once in a while. Yeah, he's very nice about it. I followed him when he was like sub 10,000 followers, and now he has like 100,000. It's crazy. His growth has been incredible. I'm really happy for him.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, it's been awesome to see not just that, but he's gotten a lot of opportunities over the course of the past year, just as far as getting exposure from different projects that are willing to pay him on a larger scale too. So it's cool to see how kind of like the type of stuff. I think that it's a culmination of people like you that contributed and shared his art and showed that I mean, leads to these other opportunities. So love to see the good guys win. But speaking of the good guys winning, actually, before we get into silver, I want to catch up. It's been a while since we have caught up. I was scrolling through your posts earlier. I saw you've been back in the gym, man. How is that arc going for you?
Oh, the whole lore is that I got really, really fat during COVID. Like I was up at 355 pounds. It was gross. We were all stuck inside ordering DoorDash. It was awful. And I lost like 90 pounds on my own. And I've been going to the gym solid for like 3 years, and I've lost over 100 pounds at this point, and I'm feeling great.
Wait, that's after the 90?
No.
No. The math is not happening there. The math is not. So 100 pounds so far since then. How long? The 90 was pretty quick.
90 was like in like 7 months, and then I kind of like went sideways for a few years, and like it was not fun, but I also was like, I was hitting the gym 3 times a week at minimum, walking, doing all that fun stuff. And I just had to like unbreak myself because I just got super lazy and was not taking care of myself. But I'm still going to the gym 3 times a week, walking all the time. Like, it's just part of my life now, and I feel great. And now I used to have no muscle. Now I got muscle. Like, I recommend anyone that is in a bad place to just start going to the gym. It makes you feel so much better.
So what was it that inspired kind of this second round of what, like, is it more, have you changed up your gym routine? Did you kind of stop after you leveled out? Or
No,
are you just
not at
adding
all.
on like a diet to it? What is the thing that's kind of taken to the next level right now?
So that's a whole other thing. So I managed to lose all that weight, and I kind of like pivoted between like 280 and 260 for the last like 2 or 3 years. It's rough out here for some people, and like I was doing all the right things, doing cutting cycles, maintenance, all that stuff, high protein, really leaning into like tracking my macros on a daily basis, and I just couldn't figure it out. And then I decided that I should probably jump on some experimental internet gray market peptides and I started taking retatrutide. Apparently it's pronounced retatrutide, but I like the first version better. And I started taking that, and I lost another 40 pounds in the last like 4 months, and it's going great. I've been very bullish on Eli Lilly, who is currently like the one that's going to be pushing this out in a few months. This new peptide, this compound, whatever you want to call it, like it's about to change the world. It's going to go fucking bonkers.
Really?
But I've been basically all the people that hate Ozempic and hate tirzepatide, otherwise known as like Mounjaro and whatever, they are, retatrutide blows them both out of the water, and so that kind of caught my attention. And someone finally bullied me into taking. I was like, all right, I'll try it for 3 months, see what's up, and it's awesome. It's like 4 months later now, and I'm having a great time.
But you feel like it's not just affecting the weight loss and the muscle gain, but like it's actually helped the habit building too.
It's helped the habit building. It makes food less important. Like, you're still hungry, but it's just like, it's not as important. Like, if you've ever been a fat guy, I don't think you ever have, but if you've ever been a fat guy, like, you know the pleasure of like, I'm going to eat this really, really sweet thing, even though I know that it's going to make me feel like garbage in an hour. And on this compound, that feeling never comes. Like, it's really it's not just appetite suppressant. It's just an absolute rewire of your metabolic pathways. Like, I know that sounds like some gym bro speak, but if you actually go look into how the mechanisms for this compound work, it's actually pretty crazy. It's an amazing read. And the literature that's coming out of the studies that are currently being done is actually really very bullish for Eli Lilly's stock, and their stock's already starting to price it in. It's I think it's up 40% in the last 3 months or so.
Okay, so like you're a Lilly bull then. And I was gonna say, I think I was cutting out for a second, but dude, don't like. I actually 2021 around that same period, I think a lot of people were struggling from whatever was happening with COVID back there. I know I was one of them. I got all the way up to like nearly 230. So I'm down right now a little over 30 pounds myself from my peak, and it was the same type thing, man. I just felt like crap. Eventually one day woke up and realized like actually what it took was going to the lake and one of my buddies calling me fat. But I mean, in a loving way, you know, he was just like, dude, you're getting fat.
The Kaleo love handles.
Yeah, but no, like legit though. But yeah, you know, like it does make everything better. I feel like it even, you know, sharpens the mind. Discipline begets discipline. You know, affects every other area too. So I want to hear, you know, going into this year, I read a post of yours, and I think a few weeks back you posted you are on a generational run right now.
Sorry, what was that last part?
I said break it down for us. Like the people want to know.
Well, I guess the generational run is kind of, I've been on a hot streak in one form or another. I mean, you've seen me throughout the entire cycle. I was pretty good on Bitcoin. Like, I was accurately very bullish at the August lows. I allocated before the ETFs were coming online. I was fully ingrained in this cycle in one form or another. We made money on memes, we made money on Coinbase, we made money on all of these different assets that had violent moves up over the last 3 years. And I don't know if you ever saw my Coming Back from Zero article that I wrote. That's where a lot of the war is. But basically, 2022 wrecked me. Like, I wasn't destitute and broke, but I was like selling my assets to pay the bills and not sure if I was going to be able to make rent in a few months. Like, I was not broke, but I was hurting. And FTX was pretty much like my capitulation bottom, even though I didn't really lose anything in the actual collapse. And from there, like, I kind of had to like regroup and figure out, what did I do wrong? Maybe I shouldn't have gone so hard on leverage in 2021, 2020, and definitely learned that lesson the hard way. So I just kind of pivoted into spot and very, very light options. And anyone who's followed me for a while knew that I was the turbo bull from 2023 until this October, pretty much. And I've been sidelined on Bitcoin since October 10th. Like, I was hoping we were going to go up to 150. I was hoping. I wasn't like fully committed to it, but once I saw...
Wait. Did you get out before the 1010 crash?
No. I mean, I was only in Bitcoin at that point, but my thesis was basically like, we're going to top in the first 2 weeks of October, maybe all the way to the 19th, 20th region. There was a little bit of wiggle room for the prediction. And that was based on the 1,064-day cycle that Bitcoin has historically obeyed. 1,064 days from bottom to top, the last 2 cycles. And I was kind of betting on that being it. And then once we actually saw that 1010 nuke, I was like, okay, that was a lot of people that just got forcibly removed from the market. That's probably the top. And I sidelined myself. Took a lot of very nice profits. But I was very much a bull all of 2023, 2024. I entered and exited all the time, but I did keep a lot of core holdings just to like be in the market. And I was never really selling anything until it was actually over. So I got out before the April nuke, rebought near the April lows, and rode the wave up all summer. And over the summer, we saw all these whales coming out of the woodwork. The most notable one is like the $8 billion whale that showed up and did an OTC transaction with Galaxy, I think. And I was like, that's distribution. Those are some ancient whales distributing some coins. Okay, time to be a little bit more cautious. And then October rolled around, and I was kind of like, if the cycle's going to end, it's going to end here. And lo and behold, we just started going straight down October and November. So that is what it is. But the real generational run was just kind of the timing of nailing the Bitcoin top, followed by silver going up 140% a year.
Okay.
And that was just so funny. And it's kind of made me a bit of a living meme, at least for the last 3 months or so. I don't know. Who knows if it'll last? But the reality is that people come on X. They're looking for people that know what they're doing, and I don't know if I know what I'm doing, but I've been exposed to the assets that have been extremely profitable to hold, even if silver was an absolutely miserable trade for the last decade. But it's not really a trade. It's kind of always been a hedge against something truly breaking in the world, and we're kind of starting to see that. But yeah, I mean, the generational run continues. Hopefully I have another banger trade someday that people go crazy over. But and there's not to say like there haven't been people all over X that have been making their own generational runs, but I don't know if you remember this. I think the week that I hit 10,000 followers was the week that Up Only started, and it just kind of feels like I've been part of this market for so long, and I'm only now like coming into some semblance of micro niche celebrity fame. And I mean, it's honoring, but it's also very strange compared to how humble crypto began and how small I used to be. And I used to be relatively clueless about markets, and now I actually seem to have some idea what's going on. That's up for up for debate, but that's kind of where like the generational run came from. It's just been a very slow roll that's suddenly accelerated.
Well, it's been fun to watch, man. I mean, you're one of the guys, for those who don't know, and the majority of y'all don't know because the majority of you guys weren't here back in the day. Dyme and I go way back. I think 2019 is where we really started to connect. You know, and from 2019 on, I feel like even back then, Dyme was a huge silver bull. So I love to see this kind of all playing into fruition. And I do remember the 10K day because I remember you and Ace were in a race to 10K. Hackerman Ace, for those of y'all who were not aware. He was kind of like, you know, one of the I guess, I don't know what you'd call us, but you know, we were all pretty tight. And I remember you two were in a race, and I think he might have barely edged you out. But then from there, I think you started a little bit more of an upper arc.
Yeah, I mean, I went really, really deep in the leverage and kind of, I mean, we both were competing. I haven't talked to Ace in a really long time. We had a falling out, but I hope he's doing well. I don't really know what he's up to these days. But yeah, I do remember that competition of sorts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy to think that was 5 years ago now.
COVID kind of blurred together for everyone. I think everyone just tries to block out those 2 years. So it's just kind of like we were in 2020 and now we're in 2026. It's like, what the heck happened?
Well, I do want to give you props also for having the discipline to have most of your crypto exposure off the table going into October. I know I did not. You know, thankfully I wasn't in any crazy plays at the time of October 10th, but at the same time, it's like, as far as spot holdings, dude, everything was wide open. I was fully exposed on the spot. So that was pretty painful to see when the charts nuked. And the worst part is I was looking back at some posts. I look back, and in 2024, whenever people, like, I asked the question, when do you think the top of this cycle will be? Or is it already? You know, this is from May of 24. And my guess was October 2025 for Bitcoin and majors. And, you know, same type thing. I mentioned in March of 2024. And what did it all go back on? What you were talking about a second ago, the 4-year cycle, as far as, you know, that date range. So it was the same type of thing. But honestly, I still believe this, and I'm going to let you give some counterpoints here in a minute, but I still believe that we're in an extended cycle, that the 4-year cycle, the traditional 4-year cycle, is a little bit dead. And that we're entering into a little bit of a paradigm shift. But with that, I think one of the things that I should have still given credit for is that, like, you know, a little bit of the remnants of the old 4-year cycle probably should still remain. So, you know, October was still probably a good time to be risk off. I don't know, man. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Have pinned at the top of your profile here, October 6th, 2026. We ride. I'm assuming that's based on the same type of cyclical metrics. What's your take?
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about what's right in front of us right now. Bitcoin went up 600% over 3 years. Not nearly as good performance as last cycle, buying 3,000 and selling 69,000. Obviously, that each cycle tends to perform less and less. We topped exactly when we were supposed to, and started marking down as soon as we were supposed to. The two big metrics that I'm looking at in terms of like the chart are the 50-week EMA and a rolling 365-day VWAP. And I can pull this up on my chart.
Yeah, do you want to? Yeah, go ahead and you can.
Hang on a second. Wait, don't pull me up yet.
I won't. I'll let you add yourself to the stage whenever you're ready.
Let's see. All right, there's Bitcoin on the weekly. Let me add the rolling VWAP. Do I have to hit share my screen?
Yeah, I will just add to stage. Either that or I can do it. I think I'll do it for you. I got
There we go. That works fine. All right. So let me remove the volume profile. All right. So basically, back over here, Bitcoin finally like fervently reclaimed the 50 and was starting to trend over it. And throughout the whole cycle, the black line here and the green line, which is the 365 VWAP and the 50-week EMA, those were our rock solid bottoms throughout the entire cycle. The two big sell-offs that we had, we always bounced off of those. And we got down here again, and at this point I was like, it's probably not going to hold this time because of where we are in the cycle, just based on time. And granted, the 100 weekly EMA is holding, but it's really just a time-based thing for me. So I'm trying to look at this market very objectively through the time lens. So my main point is like, we obeyed these lines for the entire bull cycle, and suddenly we violated them. That is a change in character. That's a change. Something has gone wrong. Something has changed. So that we're still here focusing on what is the same as the previous cycles, and what is the same is that we talked exactly when we were supposed to. We are trending down. A lot of the high time frame metrics are starting to turn down, and maybe I'm wrong. And it is not a normal cycle, and Trump is just going to print the living shit out of the currency and send us into 150K. I acknowledge that is completely an opportunity. And these, let me just talk about the line in the sand. The line in the sand is actually, where's my drawing tool? Oh my God, why can't I find it? There it is. The line in the sand is we reclaim this. Oops. We reclaim this and go up. Like that's really it. If we are trending above the 365 VWAP and the 50-week moving average, exponential moving average, I'm going to turn bullish again. Like that's all it is. And maybe this is just one big psycho fake out nonsense. So let's talk about like what is different this time. The ETFs are obviously a massive sponge of Bitcoin, of any available Bitcoin that's on the market, if there's a risk appetite for it. The Trump administration obviously is doing everything they can to keep markets aloft. They are doing everything to continue to expand the currency, and we've seen the Fed start to finally bring rates down. We've seen the end of quantitative tethering. Arguable if we're doing quantitative easing at this point. Like some people say it is, it's QE, but it's not QE. And we're obviously seeing silver and gold panic in one form or another as people start to buy things that can't be printed. We're seeing this in uranium. We're seeing this, even copper starting to move, platinum, like all of these assets that typically don't pump at the same time are all pumping at the same time. And I don't know if that means that we're going to have an immediate currency crisis, or if that means that there's just so much money flying around the system that eventually it rotates back into Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. So what I'm really just looking at is I'm looking for a reclaim of a trend to occur. But for now, we are below all of the trending EMAs, or rather averages that I've been looking at for the entire bull market cycle. And we're not yet seeing the return to the mean, or rather the return to the trend that has dominated us. Now, at the same time, we haven't really put in a macro low or low. Like if this chart was truly borked beyond belief, we would have gone down to like 70K, and that would have been all she wrote. Instead, we've kind of found ourselves right in here at this nice level. And, I respect it. If you're a DCA guy and you haven't bought Bitcoin since last April and you added here, I have complete respect for you. Like that's a great place to add. And maybe we go down to 70, and maybe we go down to 60, and maybe we go down to 50. All of those are great adds if you're a long-term believer in Bitcoin. And I will not fault you for taking that approach. The real question that is happening right now is simply a matter of, is this time different? And everyone in the market is speculating on that. And so far, the charts are telling us this time is not different. If we reclaim a trend, or if Trump suddenly decides, hey, we're going to buy another 100,000 Bitcoin over the next year, good luck with that, by the way. That would obviously be like a sincere bid that comes onto the market. And I don't know where that bid is going to come from, if it's just kind of going to materialize out of some news event, or if it's going to be just something else. Like, there needs to be a narrative. And throughout the last 3 years, we've had strong narrative, ETF trade, Trump pricing in. I don't even know what the narrative here was, but I guess it was just like the recovery from April. And there was strong reasons to be bullish at each of these levels. We hadn't hit the correct time period. And now we don't really see it. We see equities continuing to trend up. Meanwhile, we see metals going crazy. And I'm just kind of like mostly sidelined. I've nibbled a little bit here and there just to be like in the market, but it doesn't feel good right now, at least not in Bitcoin land. And crypto's obviously had a little bit of a bounce this week, but it doesn't feel like normal bull market right now. And the reality is that I don't know what happens next. All I know is probabilities based on cyclical patterns that we've had before. I don't know who's selling, because all of the big sellers were selling up here in this, what you could now call a distributive range. And all I know is, and before we even nuked, I was like, every time we push into 120, someone is selling us big time. And this happened like 3 times. And someone obviously did not want us to go over 120K, and they exited gracefully, and they're on an island somewhere now. The other big thing, and I'm going to drop this. I talked about this extensively. This is MicroStrategy, which I'm sure you know. So before Bitcoin even started nuking, where is it? There it is. Before Bitcoin even started nuking, so this is like the beginning of October when we were at all-time highs. MicroStrategy, let me change back to log scale because it's more apparent there. Before we even started nuking, MicroStrategy started trading under the 200 SMA, and that's not a great sign. And I was kind of like, this is showing that people are not willing to pay a premium for Bitcoin. Something's going on here. And if you go back to 2021, we saw the same thing happening here. Here was the top in November, and people weren't really like accepting of it. But once we really started like moving under all of the moving averages, especially the 200, and we got this very bearish cross, it was over. It was done. And I kind of took MicroStrategy as a leading indicator, just that people were not willing to pay for like leveraged exposure to Bitcoin at this point, and that probably meant that there was a major top coming in. So it's not one piece of data. It's not like, oh, Dyme counted to 1,064. He's a market genius. It was a confluence of factors, and it's just like, I've made a lot of money, and we just saw a violent sell-off on the 10th, and on 10/10, I should say. And you know, the market doesn't feel good, and I'm just gonna like sideline myself and see what happens. Like, and I have no problem admitting this, but I absolutely traded this, sold the top, and then a day later I'm like, well, what if? And bought the top like an idiot, gave back all of my profits for the month, and then I was like, yep, I'm done. Let's get out, and let's just stay out for a month and see what happens. And then obviously a month later we start downtrending, and now we're here. Ultimately, I can buy back more Bitcoin than I had at the October top, and that's really all that matters to me. We got tax season incoming as well. I got to pay some taxes. I'm sure everyone does, but really, I'm waiting for some kind of signal of a trend reclaim. I'm waiting for some kind of signal that the narrative is shifting, or I'm waiting for us to get to October, which is the time in the market. And again, it's completely possible that we are doing a super cycle, that something crazy is going to happen. Trump's going to just send it up. I think I saw that one of his companies bought $40 million worth of Bitcoin. Maybe he knows something that we don't. And I do want to like really stress, like, everything about this cycle feels different. We have never had greater institutional participation. We've never had more ways for institutions to buy. Derivatives coming online in the US, ETFs are in style, even though it doesn't feel like it right now. People outside of our little crypto Twitter bubble are absolutely looking at Bitcoin, and they're like, I need to figure out how to allocate to Bitcoin in some form or another. And whether or not that happens and we bottom here, or rather 80K, or we continue with our normal cycles and go down to 50K, like I have no doubts Bitcoin's going to 200K someday, like, and that's conservative. But it's really just a matter of time, waiting, and opportunity. And I want to let some time pass and see how the market processes whatever 2026 is going to throw at us. In the short term, I would like to see us go to 100K. If we flip it, that will obviously get some bulls on board, including me, but not just because it's a psychological number, but because it's the 50-week exponential moving average that I talked about, and the VWAP as well. So those are the levels that like reclaim bull market territory to me. And obviously those numbers are going to trend down the longer we stay below them. So those numbers are in flux. Don't take them as a fixed point in time, please. But I'm really just kind of sitting on my hands, waiting, taking an occasional short-term trade, and like just seeing what happens. But yeah, sorry, I just kind of monologued.
No, man, it was interesting. And I do appreciate you sharing. So you're not some raging bear right now, or you would say max short at this point. We're going lower. You're kind of just more a neutral. You're more in a neutral wait and see type of spot.
I didn't even short all of November. Like I'm so notoriously bad at shorting, and I don't really trade leverage anymore. Just because I've done so well being spot long only that it's just doesn't really feel worth it to me. I'll short SPX once in a while, like back in April, but it's hard being a bear, and I'd rather just be a patient bull. And I don't know if you saw this tweet, but being the biggest Bitcoin bull requires being a USD bull for 1 year every 3 years. Is something to that effect is what I tweeted. And until I see like definitive proof that the cycle is over, I'm going to assume that the cycles are not over. And like I don't think we're going to see an 80% correction. If you go back and look at the previous few cycles lows, it was like 80% in 2018 or was it 2018 or 2019? I guess it was 2018. It was like minus 80%, and then last cycle I think we did like minus 70 something percent. So the bear market declines get worse and worse, and for the first time ever, we actually have institutional passive buyers that are part of this market, and they're not going away anytime soon. But that doesn't mean that Bitcoin's just going to rip in a straight line to 200K. So I have my lines in the sand, and that's just kind of how I look at it. If the cycle plays out as I think it should, it means you start to allocate between August and October, and we really just have to look at it in that context, in that light.
So what is if you were to be just a hyperbole, 2 year, the most that you could see Bitcoin going in the next couple years, like if all of the stars aligned absolutely perfectly, what would Dyme say would be the ultra bullish stars aligned top?
Stars aligned top, like in general, or like are you saying like
what is the highest price that you possibly think with all the stars aligned Bitcoin could hit in the next couple of years?
Oh, $1 million, easy. Like
in the next couple of years. Okay.
I mean.
So you still think it could happen? Like if all the stars align?
Well, I think Saylor said like 1 million by 2030 or something. And
okay.
The reality is that if the sovereign wealth funds and like the Saudis and whatever mysterious entities you want to ascribe to, if those people start buying and they see Bitcoin as just this Berkshire Hathaway sized asset that you just buy and hold, the volatility is going to really, really crank down, and it already has year over year. But like, it would not surprise me if Bitcoin is $1 million in 5 to 6 years. Like even by 2030, like things can get really, really weird when you have an asset that is becoming harder and harder to create. And we're already seeing this in the gold market. But the thing with gold is they can always ramp up more supply. There's always more gold to find if there's a big enough financial incentive to go find it. Bitcoin's not the same. It's literally a race to zero. And I think this next halving cycle is the last time we're going to have a whole number for the mining reward for the blocks. And when you really start to like think about the ramifications of that, let's back up. Currently today, we are mining 450 Bitcoin daily. And that's for millions of people all over the world who constantly want to buy Bitcoin. And there's people who are buying it no matter what price it's at. They don't care. The sailors, the little holders of last resort. And then you start to think, okay, next cycle it's going to be 225, and it's only going to get weirder after that. And that gradual decrease in available fresh supply, especially in an age of industrial miners who might pre-commit their earnings to certain entities and organizations, there's not enough Bitcoin for everyone. 21 million coins is not really enough. And at some point, we are going to reach a critical mass of markup that is going to explode us higher. Now, that could be a year from now. That could be 5 years from now. But the reality is, as long as mining holds up, as long as no quantum bullshit stops us, whatever, I don't know anything about the quantum narrative that Nick Carter's been talking about. I'm not a technical expert in that area at all. But there's always going to be FUD events, but that doesn't change the fact that fiat has no top, or Bitcoin has no top, because fiat has no bottom. They will never stop printing this money until the system breaks. And unless something globally goes wrong on a massive scale with the economy itself, Bitcoin has no reason not to go to 1 million. It's preordained at this point. It's just a matter of how we get there and how deep we correct.
Amen, man. Hey, that is the type of stuff that I want to hear on a show called Be More Bullish.
Yeah, I mean, I am a macro bull on Bitcoin, and people seem to forget that I was one of the loudest bulls for the last 3 years. And I said October, like, hey, time to get a life jacket. And not everyone can afford a Bitcoin, Mr. PU Lover Hoodie, whatever your name is. Pullover Hoodie. Oh my God, I totally butchered that. Not everyone can afford a Bitcoin, but everyone can afford a fraction of a Bitcoin. So it's all about percentage gains, and like, you don't have to be rich in this racket. You just have to be consistent, and you have to stick to your ideas. But I just don't see a world where Bitcoin becomes unimportant. We're living in an era where digital scarcity is becoming increasingly valuable, and that doesn't mean that we don't have some form of bear market for the next 6 months. That could even just be a crab market. That does not change my long-term outlook on Bitcoin. And I know it's really hard to be bearish on Bitcoin when we're seeing what's going on with metals and equities, where Trump is seemingly pumping everything in the market except Bitcoin. And that could change tomorrow with a single tweet. Who knows? But all I know is that the people who are saying the cycles are over are not people that were bearish at the top. So I'm not really like super interested in their opinions. But I am seeing a lot of institutional folks that are trying to like really push the idea that it's over, the cycles are over, you should buy now, it's time to get in. And I just remember all the times that Bitcoin actually bottomed, there weren't institutions telling me to buy. So I remain kind of suspicious of that, and I want to maintain my skepticism until the chart tells me go deep, long, and send it. And I hope people haven't like taken away from my posts over the last like 3 months that I'm like a turbo bear in any regards, but it's really just a matter of time in the market, waiting for things to happen, and not being in a rush. So I don't need to like desperately make money on every single candle on Bitcoin. Like, yeah, do I wish I was more long for this little pump we just had? Yeah, I was a little long, not as long as I could have been, but it was still fun to see. And obviously we're still range bound, but this, until we see proof otherwise, I just think this is like a little bear market rally.
Hey, and dude, honestly, I think that's fair. Like, I really, let's see, I'm gonna show something for 1 second.
Yeah, you can take the screen back.
Yeah, just for a second. So I mean, I look at this too, and it doesn't scream immediately that we have to, like, we're not out of the range, like what you said, right? If anything, I look at this, and anytime that we barely break above it and it retraces back, we usually retest somewhere in the middle or lower part of the range before bouncing back higher. So I think it's a completely fine thesis. You can look at a bunch of the base ranges that we've had. Majority of them last 3-6 months, somewhere in that time range. And even whenever they start climbing back, right, you can look at 2021 from July here all the way to November before it ended up reclaiming the highs whenever it finally started moving. So, even a move back to the highs, I don't think will happen overnight. So I think the point being of all that, average person, if you are just trading it, you're probably going to have a little bit of time and being patient and waiting for, somewhere around 100K plus to be able to start really, really aping into things. Probably not a bad move. But man, I really, I appreciate the info on that because I took some from it too. But one of the things I want to go ahead and move over to real quick is something that has been a little bit more fun, and what a lot of the people here have come to talk about or come to listen about is you take some clout for silver, because silver finally, like, I want to zoom out for the people and show the journey that silver has been on to get to this point. Back in 1980, January of 1980, silver hit $48. It didn't hit it again until May or sometime in the middle of 2011. And it didn't hit it again until here, within the past couple months. Like, as far as just a chart, I think both you and I have looked at this for the past few years, and we've been like, man, this thing is destined to eventually rip, because look at that cup and handle that's playing out. Realistically, like, since here, we have been waiting for this, and it's finally happened, man. So first and foremost, how do you feel?
I mean, it's bittersweet because I wasted a decade of my life on this stupid paperweight, but it's cool at the same time. It unfortunately means that something in the economy is breaking, and they call silver the financial linchpin because the price has been artificially suppressed. That's not a conspiracy theory. It's just reality. The paper ratio for silver is like 700 to 1 or something for actual physical. Mm-hmm. They have been tamping the price down. And maybe that's part of the tech trade. That's up for debate. But it's the amount of people and banks that have been shorting silver for the last decade has gotten completely out of control. And we've kind of started to see like rumors of some banks and other firms blowing up with this big silver move. The sad part is we haven't even hit an inflation adjusted all-time high, which should be somewhere between $120 and $130. But it's bittersweet because silver was always kind of like a shit hits the fan hedge. Like I allocated, I think $6,000 to it in 2014, and I had bought a bunch more at the lows in 2020 or 2021. I can't remember. But it's really just unfortunate because it has to go up, but it means something is really going wrong in the economy. I don't tell anyone to like really buy silver because it's been such a painful thing to own. But obviously, like it's one of those things that you just kind of hold on to generationally and pass on or sell infrequently. Like I sold my first silver bar in years, like 2 weeks ago at the $78 high. I just that was just me kind of being like, I need to take something off. Like I've been in this for so long. I just need to take out 100 ounces of silver. And it feels gross having the cash now, but at the same time, it feels very cathartic to like nail that so well, even though it took way longer than I thought it would. Obviously, holding Bitcoin for the last decade would have been a much more profitable endeavor, but at the same time, silver just has a very primal feel to it, and it's just something that's really, it is important on a grand societal level. Everyone in this chat right now is using silver, and you don't even realize it. It's in every computer. It's in every freaking smartphone.
Industrial staple.
Your car uses it. Elon and friends need it for their AI revolution. Mm-hmm. It is going to be a very important industrial metal. And we even saw Elon like commenting on the silver price, like, it's very bad if silver gets expensive. It's like, duh, your fucking Teslas have a few ounces of it in each one. And every time it goes up $10, the price increases exponentially on each Tesla, at least on the back end for him. But yeah, these moves they're explosive and they're telling you some stuff about the economy. And look at silver and gold leading into 2008. They knew something was coming. They knew that something was going to go wrong. And lo and behold, it took a few years, but it does mean that economic troubles are likely on the horizon. I've heard someone refer to this as a correlation 1 event, which is where all of the metals are moving together, which doesn't normally happen. Usually silver just has some random pump, and then like gold, like, oh, they printed a bunch of money, gold's going to go up. And then catalytic converters are legal in Europe again. Oh, platinum's going to go up. And then copper always goes up for some very weird reason. And these have all kind of like happened uniquely and on their own. But when they're all going up together, that means that something's going wrong. And it's not going to manifest this year. It's probably not going to manifest next year, but it's sometime in the next 5 years, something is going to happen. And you're going to look back on this chat and the silver and gold chart, you're going to be like, okay, something broke. But yeah, silver has been very cathartic to see it finally go up, but bittersweet.
Yeah. I mean, I think that what you said, one of the things, like, hit the nail on the head. You look at this too. This is kind of scary looking at silver versus M2 as far as what the peaks are. But it's also one of the reasons I can look at a few things. I think silver is going to $200 or $300 in, like, I think it has the potential to do it the next couple of years. I think you're not too far off on that. I think I read a post where you said you're looking at it like in the next 5 years going to that. Maybe this next year you said you think 2026 might be a bear market for silver before it extends any higher. Like, is that still kind of what you're thinking? Or
it doesn't necessarily need to be a bear market, but having years where silver goes up 140%, that doesn't normally happen back to back. And I could see the next like year being kind of like sideways price action. I don't know. And there's obviously a lot of panic to get exposure to silver. I think there's a lot of companies that are like, how much silver do we need to run operations for the next 5 years? And they're going to try to figure out how to allocate just to have it. Because if silver doubles in price again, their cost of doing business doubles in some ways. And I don't know if we're going to go sideways. I don't know if we're going to go to 100. Silver is not something that I really trade anymore, but I love charting it. And it's a very elegant and slow moving metal, but it's actually crazy when you compare it to Bitcoin. I don't know if you saw my slow Bitcoin post.
The slow Bitcoin post? I'm not
okay,
sure. Go over.
Zoom in, or you can send it back to my chart if you want. Or
yeah, put it back on your chart.
So I've been saying this since like 2019 or so, that silver is really just a slow Bitcoin that's going through its 2019, 2020 phase. And I don't know, I'm going to assume that all of you have looked at the Bitcoin chart at some point, but this part reminds me of the 2018 top or 2017 top and the subsequent like move down. This part was kind of the COVID capitulation. This was the 2019 accumulation that led into an April pump. Mm-hmm. And then finally, this is like the 2020 pump. And silver has just always reminded me as Bitcoin that operates only on quarterly candles. And I that kind of means that silver potentially will have a little bit of a pullback into the next couple of years. I hope that doesn't happen, but I've just kind of like observed that silver's price action really reminded me of a very, very slow Bitcoin 2019 market. And that's really all it is. I mean, I don't know if you remember the 2018 markdown where
I do.
Remember, we just kind of like kept bouncing, and then just started nuking. And This is obviously longer and more drawn out, but that kind of feels like distribution. This feels like accumulation and a spring. And then this feels like just coming into a trend. And then even if you don't believe in anything that I just said and you're like, Dyme is full of shit and you shouldn't listen to him, one of the greatest signals that we had was a boring Ichimoku cloud, which was obviously terrible for a decade. And then suddenly in 2022, we finally had the first bullish Kumo twist on Ichimoku. And if you had bought any time here and just waited for the last 3 years, you would have been very happy. So really, it's just a very slow asset. Yeah, that's really all I got to say on that. It's
Well, I did see though. You said a couple weeks back, I think December 28th, you posted that you finally picked up your first futures position in silver in a long time on this dip. And I saw it dipped a little bit after that, but I mean, it is above those levels. I'm curious, did you hold on to that at all for this move up? Is it
oh
something that
no,
you're,
absolutely
or
not.
did you immediately cut it on that gap down the next day?
No, I did something like this. I literally was like, all right, that's enough. I'm gonna go to sleep because this was like, I think it was actually closer to. Actually, I think it was closer to this.
Okay.
I think this was like 11 p.m. at night, and I'm like, I don't want to hold a futures contract overnight. And then by the time like I actually woke up and like got out of bed, it was already pulling back, and I was like, that's fine. I don't hold futures positions open overnight. I learned my lesson a long time ago. I don't want another margin call. But it was just like when you're trading futures, I think I was doing micro silver futures. Even a few ticks is $1,000. So it's fun, and I don't really. And also, I was kind of like betting on. Hang on a second. Maybe it was. No, it was this. It was this one. Okay, yeah, it was this move. I really just was kind of leaning more into the meme of like I'm gonna like leverage up on silver and top the market, and then I kind of did. But obviously, we're still flirting with all-time highs. Silver hasn't gone down yet. Who knows if this is distribution or the beginning of like a range or reaccumulation? Like I wouldn't be like rushing to enter new silver positions up here, or even like further down the risk curve with like miners and things like that. But it's still just really, really an interesting time in the market because there are so many reasons that silver can just keep going. But I don't expect to have 240% years back to back. Like if silver was flat for the year, that would be perfectly fine.
Yeah, dude. I'm gonna share my screen real quick.
Yeah,
and I
take
want
it
to
back.
get your thoughts on it because I looked at one of the things I was tracing since this summer. Like there were a couple things that triggered to, in my mind, where I thought that man, we're about to just see an explosive move that ended up playing out. So one of them, I looked to the 2010 rally, and you know I love to find a good fractal, and I looked at this move right here with this whole growth phase, and I basically copy pasted that at the beginning of June, and it played out to the freaking T. And when you look at where the peak extends to relative to what that move did, I mean, we're there. So I haven't taken the time right now to really sit back and say, okay, where do I expect the next, like, do I expect a retest of 50, or that 48 level before surging? Or, what makes this different? Like, if you look back then, this was an extension into the retest of a previous all-time high. This is an extension after breaking out of that high. So I think that it's a completely different scenario as far as where it is and what the implications are on a higher time frame. But at least on the lower time frame, I do think it's an area where it might be due to cool off for a little bit. So I haven't really looked at that too much as far as what I see kind of the lower time frame extension being.
In hindsight, I wish I had ignored Bitcoin all year and just kind of like gotten out last February and just bought like ETF silver in one form or another. That would have been a much easier trade than trying to deal with Bitcoin all year. But the reason that assets move up like that is just it's a lack of sellers and a lot of buyers, and we'll probably see another series of candles like that at some point in the future. I don't think this move on silver is done, but our plans are measured in centuries, literally.
Well, that's what I was going to ask about the chart that I'm putting up now, right? Like, if you look at this, I mean, it looks like a massive cup and handle.
Oh, it is.
For it to just stop right here wouldn't make sense. I mean, if anything, it should be something like between the height from the base of the cup to the top of the cup is what I think is a traditional move higher that you expect with a cup and handle. So one of the two things that I'm looking at there outside of the base is also the percentage gain you saw here in 78. whenever it started to break out from those 74 highs and it started to go vertical. So if we saw a similar type move, it would put us somewhere in that $250 to $300 range, right? And again, I think with just how long of a base this is before breaking out, it's not going to happen as quickly as I pray to God it doesn't happen as quickly as it happened back there, because it'd be shitty for the economy in the short term.
Well, that entire pump on the left there was the Hunt brothers cornering the silver market, which was a very weird and unregulated time in the market. So it's kind of it's hard to compare then to now. The institutions have gotten a greater stranglehold on silver in one form or another, and that is as conspiratorial as it sounds. Silver is going to go to 1,000 eventually. Whether or not it's this commodity cycle or the next one in 40 years, whenever we reset the house of cards. But I agree with you completely. It's a 40-year cup and handle that is just now like coming into play. And that means we're going at least to 400, 500. An actual bull market target would be like 1,000. Now,
okay, so you're even more bullish than I am right now.
Yeah,
right? Because I'm looking for a move. Basically, maybe a little bit of, this is in weekly, so it's going to be a really terrible drawing. Maybe a little bit of chop in here, but I mean, I think eventually over the next couple years, my target is the next couple years, 250 to 300.
That's completely fine. The thing about commodities moves is that they tend to be 5 to 10 years long, because it's such a different market. But if you actually measure the cup and handle from the base to the top and then take the measured move from there, I think it's a little bit higher. Also depends if you use log scale. There's so many different ways to look at it.
Yeah.
I think anyone with a sub 100 silver target is a fucking retard, to be quite honest. So
if you're not using log scale, we're already at another reason why it's probably a decent area for it to cool off for a little bit longer. I think that if we break that $80 time, anytime soon, and it's a clean break above, F it, man, we're just sending. I think it'd cool off a little bit more before it happens. So.
Yeah, no, I'm going to reply to Tara in the chat right now. Yeah, man, let's buy something and hold it for 50 years. I've been holding it for 10. This is a generational asset that you hold as a hedge. It's not like you put your full net worth into it. I'd love to tell you guys that I had fucking $10 million worth of silver, but the reality is that I was dirt broke when I allocated. So I have a down payment on a house in silver. I don't have millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
It's still satisfying because the P&L percentage I can flex a little bit, but it's still the time that it took for this to happen and the series of things that had to go wrong for this move to happen. I wouldn't tell my best friend to allocate to silver, but at the same time, it's you should probably own some, but don't be an idiot on Twitter that makes it your whole personality. You don't want to end up on Kalio's stream. It's awful.
Hey, it's years in the making, ladies and gentlemen. Again, Dyme and I have been talking about silver for a while. I've been a huge silver bull for a long time. I'm just not nearly as outspoken nor nearly as allocated as Dyme is to it. So I am all for this era of it happening, but it was a lot of painful years of kind of sounding a little bit crazy, saying, "Hey, I swear, silver's due, man. It's time." And everybody's just looking at you like you're wearing a tinfoil cap, waiting on some alien landing that's never going to happen. And it was kind of it felt like this unfounded belief where whatever sell pressure, whatever the gods of the market were, they were not going to allow it to ever get above that $35, $40 range. Every time that we had a hope, boom, hammered down. And then eventually, you deserve the euphoria right now because you experienced all that to get to this. And you said, hey, typically commodity moves are somewhere in the 5 to 10 year bull market extension. If you look at it, we're kind of already 5 years into it.
Yeah, that's true. The reality is that I'm just kind of expecting silver to continue to trend up over the multiple years that we have left in it. Like, again, we haven't even hit an inflation adjusted all-time high. There's no way that we don't hit that. It might be next year. It might be this year. Who knows? But this move it's really in its infancy, and we're not even looking at silver anymore. But gold is telling us the story at this point, and we are going to see 10,000 gold someday. It's just a matter of whether it's like 3 years from now or 8 years from now.
That's what I was going to ask, man. My gold target is somewhere in, the 8K range. Again, dating back to 79 when we saw that breakout of something similar, to what we're seeing right here. Like, it was a pretty massive extension, and I don't think gold is done yet either.
Yeah, and they are going to keep printing money. I think Trump is intentionally devaluing the dollar. It seems pretty obvious at this point. We still haven't audited Fort Knox. I think Trump is going to probably pull some really silly shenanigans with revaluing the gold that's in Fort Knox. I don't know if you know this, but it's still trapped at like 1960 prices or something on our books.
No.
I have no idea why. I don't know if there's like a clerical reason or whatever. But the reality is that governments around the world are out. Yeah, you didn't know that?
No, I had no idea. That's insane. Why?
I'll send you the link after we're done. But basically, the gold that's stored in Fort Knox is valued at some like pre-1970 price, and revaluing the gold to the value of today would increase the United States GDP by a significant amount of money. But there's all kinds of conspiracy theories about like the weird financial maneuvers that Trump is getting ready to pull off. We also have the stablecoin thing because stablecoins increase demand for U.S. treasuries. But you know what the thing is that really set off this gold market? Are you familiar with the geopolitics of it?
Break it down for me.
Okay, so what happened in 2022 with Russia? They invaded Ukraine.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I thought you were going to answer that.
No, that's fine. They invaded Ukraine. And I think Luke Groman was the first one that like really called this out. He's a macro analyst that I like to follow. But Russia invaded Ukraine. And what was the EU's response? They confiscated all of their money and basically froze it. And they're even thinking about using it to fund the war in Ukraine. It's not even about how Russia reacted to that, but it was China, every other major country on the planet. All of them started buying gold relentlessly as soon as that happened, because they were like, okay, if it's in the SWIFT banking system and we piss off the wrong people or do something that's in the interest of our country, but everyone hates it, they confiscate all of our money. Fuck that. We are going to buy a bunch of gold. And that's what we've been seeing. Central banks around the world have been relentlessly shoving money into gold for the last 5 years or so. Even before 2022, they were already starting, but 2022 really accelerated it. And until that trend stops, or we see the monetary reset that some conspiracy theorists think is coming, things that can't be printed are going to continue going up and to the right indefinitely. And that could last for another 5 years, or that could last for another 20 years. We don't really know. Like, there's a lot of things that can break and go wrong. But yeah, the central bankers wanted gold, and that this entire move on gold is ultimately driven by those central bankers that have been allocating to gold in one form or another.
Man, well, I appreciate you walking through that. Didn't really. I guess it never really clicked back to me with the Bitcoin, or not the Bitcoin, but the Russia-Ukraine war kind of being one of the initial catalysts for it.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, like, the primary catalyst that I've looked at that I think is just finally catching up is just there's nothing that the Fed can do, nor anybody can do to really stop inflation right now. The economy's broken. One of the choice but to print. Here's the sad thing though, man. You look at it, it's tough. So higher rates means a more suppressed economy. And if we're just talking equities and stock, the stock market right now. Higher rates means more suppressed economy because it is more expensive to borrow money, which means it's more expensive to inject new money into the system. But at the same time, like for the lowest income citizens, it's the best thing because like they're not really affected too much by the stock market. The majority of those jobs that they're going to work are probably going to exist anyway. The only real counter argument to that is maybe a little bit less tax income as a whole for the country, right? Like, but you know, at the same time, their day to day, it's probably beneficial because it's the thing that slows down inflation the most. On the flip side, though, you know, it hurts the economy. It doesn't look nearly as good. There's a lot of pain at the middle and at the top. So, you know, you cut rates, shit pumps. But at the same time, what is out of control that's going to continue pumping with it is the ridiculous inflation that we're already seeing. And, you know, a lot of people don't even credit back in 2020 how significant the shift was for the zero collateral requirement for banks in lending in general. Basically, there's infinite leverage in the system. There is infinite leverage, like at basically the bank level that they can print money, right? Like, you know, they can issue whatever loans without having to have anything there to back it. So I agree with you. Anything at all that cannot be printed, whether it be gold, whether it be silver, or whether it be Bitcoin, is inevitable.
Your mic cut off. Hello? Hello?
Going to continue to skyrocket. It just, I don't see. Yo.
Kaleo, are you there?
Wait, can y'all not hear me?
You dropped off for a second. I don't know if it's my end or your end.
Okay, am I back? Okay, yeah. What was the last thing that you heard?
I basically lost the last like 30 seconds.
Dang. Okay. Well, it was probably my blood pressure. Somebody said my blood pressure was rising. Like, dude, it was. Basically, summing it all up, inflation is so bad right now. The economy is so broken. I don't see anything changing anytime soon. And a flight to things that can't be printed, what you said is a beautiful statement. It's a true statement. It's a scary statement all at the same time. But I mean, yeah, that is why assets like silver, gold, Bitcoin, all of the above are going to continue to skyrocket and going to continue to be safe haven assets because I don't really see anything that happens anytime soon really shifting what's happening with inflation. Like cutting rates is not going to help inflation, right? Like
we can see it in the bond market because the bonds are demanding higher yields. I'm not a bond market expert, but I know that part of the reason why we haven't seen mortgage rates come down despite the rate cuts is because bond holders are demanding higher yields and
more
risk. And we're basically the United States credit rating has fallen and there's all these other factors. The reality is that we still haven't seen mortgage rates come down. They're still unaffordable to most people unless you just have cash outright for a mortgage. Like it's rough out there.
People are already forgetting Silicon Valley Bank and what happened, like how fragile our banking system is right now too.
Yeah.
You know, did you hear about the zero collateral stuff I was talking about with banks?
Yeah, I heard that part before you dropped off.
Just like, what are your thoughts on that, man? Like, is there any way that they can ever repeal that?
I don't think I caught the. Oh, you mean like not having zero collateral loans?
Well, the bank used to, I think there was like a 10% collateral requirement that banks used to have. Like they had to physically hold 10% of customers' assets at the bank, something like that, right?
Now you're referring to fractional reserve banking, and now we're not even close to that.
So again, now like fraction zero for what they have to hold. It's like there's infinite leverage at the bank level.
There is, and ultimately the Fed can choose to print more money at any time, and they're starting to in one form or another. There's some debate over whether it's QE or not, but I don't know what the solution is. You're getting more into like the macro bank technicals that I'm not qualified to speak on in any way. All I know is that everything is going up and to the right except for Bitcoin right now, and there is something deeply wrong with the economy, but because the numbers are all going up, everyone's happy. And the boomers and anyone that holds assets in bulk are having a great time right now. And anyone that is reliant on income to live is having a very bad time because wages have remained stagnant versus everything else. And at the same time, the affordability cost of living crisis is just so bad that these people cannot afford to own assets because they need to pay rent, they need to pay their student debt, they need to do whatever they need to do in order to survive. And then food prices and everything, inflation never really comes down. Prices don't really come down in a debt-based growth economy. We've seen some minor corrections. We've seen eggs come back to sanity. We've seen oil come back down, but these are like supply-driven events. We're not seeing the price of electronics come down. We're not seeing the price of college come down. Like everything is expensive forever, and it's never going to go back until the system breaks. As Lynn Alden says, nothing stops this train. They have no choice but to continue printing. And I don't even know what Trump's doing with oil at this point. He obviously wants it to go as low as possible. Venezuela obviously changes the equation quite a bit because we're literally unlocking a massive amount of supply for the world that has been previously untapped. And I'm saying that as someone who does not understand macro oil economics, but don't do log scale. The 2020 nuke breaks it forever.
Well, I was going to say the one counterpoint to that, as far as the supply side, where was Venezuela sending a lot of their oil? China. Like,
it goes deeper than that.
China, like certain. I don't know. Go ahead.
China lent Venezuela, I think, like somewhere between $16 and $20 billion, and obviously Venezuela is not a super profitable country under Maduro. So they've just been using their untapped oil reserves as collateral, is my understanding. And that has been a fine arrangement because they'll just get some oil from Venezuela whenever they need it, and that pays off the interest and some of the principal on the debt. But now Maduro's out, and nothing gets sent to China without Trump's permission. So Trump has some really great leverage on China right now because obviously they would like to get their investment back in some form or another, but they don't have access to Venezuelan oil anymore.
Yeah. So but I mean, oil is one of the few things that he can really, as far as turning the spigot on, control a little bit as far as suppressing the price right now. Like it's his last real lever where the lower oil is, again, like the lower energy costs are, keeps things cheaper to be able, everything requires energy in some form or another. So, again, this is my broken view of the macroeconomics of everything. I don't have the credibility to be, I think that like it is one of his last levers where, as you are cutting rates, which kind of drives other things up into the right, he's trying to push that down and to the right. As much as he's trying to say he supports the industry, he's supporting by allowing everything to just be full throttle, which does that. I don't know, man. It's really interesting, and I think we're on the verge. I don't know when it happens, Dyme, but dude, it feels like something major. Like what happened to Silicon Valley within the past year and a half. Something like that. Eventually, I don't think it's insane that it happens again sometime in the next 5-10 years, like on a larger scale.
You're not wrong. It's I know Trump wants to refill the strategic petroleum reserve that Joe Biden emptied during the 2022 midterms. I can't remember what year it was, but I know Trump wants to keep pushing it down. You're absolutely right. It's one of the few levers that a president can potentially influence with foreign policy and kidnapping Maduro, things like that, which is still just absolutely bonkers that happened, by the way.
Insane.
Especially in under 30 minutes. Like, that's just crazy. Markets are really just ultimately cyclical, and we've been printing money for almost 20 years now, since the 2008 bottom, and eventually something is going to go wrong. And I suspect it's sometime around the time that the boomers start dying off, because I don't really foresee that millennials and Gen X are going to tolerate this kind of irrational money printing forever. Something is going to break. And as I said earlier, metals are telling us exactly that. Like, just look at gold into 2008. It was already sniffing it out long before anything actually happened. What does it mean for Bitcoin? No clue, but we are going to find out together over the next few years.
Mm-hmm. Amen, man. Well, dude, that was majority of what I had to talk through. Like, you know, I think it's mostly just getting a view with where shit's heading over the next couple of years. And I think we're actually we're on the same page a lot more than I thought that we were. You know, I shared that Livermore chart the other day. Is it going to play out exactly like Livermore? I have no clue. I don't know, man. Do I believe in those targets being realistic, though, for Bitcoin in the next couple of years? I do.
Yeah,
I think Bitcoin's long overdue for a pump. Is it because it follows the exact Livermore extensions? I'm not sure, but I mean, it is fun to look at that type of stuff.
I replied to you and I told you I've only pulled off one Livermore chart in my entire life, and it was SPX in 2020, before, I think it was like right as the vaccines were coming out, and that played out to a T. I think actually, if you search Livermore, I don't know if it's just for my browser and like my browsing history, but if you search Livermore accumulation cylinder, I think my chart on TradingView is one of the top things that comes up.
On TradingView, okay.
Well, no, it's on TradingView, but it's like the top search result, and I just thought that was so funny.
No, I mean, like, again, for some reason, I had just like pinned you as a Livermore guy, so I was a little bit surprised when I saw that reply. But I think, you know, if you've done enough Livermores, you've probably seen enough break to where it can kind of scorn you a little bit toward it also. So, you know, for anybody that's out here, take everything with a grain of salt that you see. Like, it's fun having that type of hopium, and, you know, again, like, I believe it. But even on, hey, like, I'm as big of a bull as it gets, but, you know, heck, I look at things like this, like Bitcoin right now, without completely sending out of this range. Right now, from a lower time frame, I think it retests somewhere in the mid 80s before it ends up going higher. Like, I don't know, man. Until we're out of this range, it is what it is. But like, my targets, I think, kind of like you, we're aligned over the next few years. I think the bull market continues. We're going way higher with all, like, you want to be exposed to this type of stuff. You're like, it's sitting in fiat is the worst thing, like, fully exposed to fiat, you know, having some fiat rate, but like just being fully sitting in cash, I just don't see the upside with inflation the way that it is right now. Like,
inflation has arguably slowed. We have to give Trump some credit for that, and that's assuming you believe the government numbers. Obviously, it's better than it was like during the middle of COVID when they were doubling the money supply. But whatever's happening now is just, it's marginally better, but at the same time, you're being punished for not being in assets. And anyone that doesn't even like have $100,000 in SPX or NVIDIA or whatever, they're having a rough time right now. And there's no sugarcoating that. And the midterms are unfortunately going to recognize that and price it in rapidly. But that's why we're seeing socialist mayors get elected. We just got one here in Seattle for some reason. I don't even understand how that happened. We got one in New York City.
Like, same type of thing.
Sorry, what?
No, I'm sorry, dude. I think that like had another little. I'm not sure what's happening with the connection. I apologize about that.
Sorry. Did you say QQQ?
Yeah, I was looking at like QQQ, same thing with SPY. You know, I overlaid the fractal from the 2020 recovery, kind of like the last black swan type of event. You know, because I consider the tariff, what happened here was a little bit of a black swan event. And how we had the V-shaped recovery.
It was such a black swan that Trump told us it was coming.
I mean, but to the markets and the way they reacted, man, like it's insane. It was out of line with what any other president has done. It kind of reshifted the paradigm of global economics. So yeah, he said it was coming, but I think a lot of people didn't believe it until it did happen. So
I don't know if you
same type thing here.
I don't know if you saw, but the Supreme Court is going to rule on the legality of the tariffs on Friday, which could end up being problematic. Yeah. Trump is kind of, he's using a really old law and kind of interpreting it very liberally and to his advantage. And the polymarket odds are pretty bad against Trump for this Supreme Court decision to rule in his favor, but we'll find out. Polymarket can be wrong. So we'll find out. For all I know, SPY is going to have a very bad red day on Friday. I don't know if I necessarily want to short it or anything, but if they rule against him, that's a change. Because right now, initially the markets hated the tariffs, and now they're seeing all the income come in from it, and they're like, oh, actually, we like the tariffs. And we've seen the market like pull back on like news of like tariffs being removed at one point or another. Mm-hmm. But I don't know what's going to happen, but I imagine that it's going to be volatile on Friday. Who knows in what direction? But we'll see what happens. All I know is that the Supreme Court has a very strong chance of ruling against Trump's tariffs.
That's interesting. Yeah, I just think it's eerie how similar these recoveries are. From the 2020 bounce to where we are now. Like, it's kind of insane the way that it's playing out so perfectly so far. But yeah, dude, I think equities continue higher too. Dyme, I'm curious, man, before I let you go, do you have like anything that anything that we haven't talked about yet that you want to go through?
You should pull up the Rivian chart.
I'll let you. Oh, dude, that was on my list of things that I saw that you were bullish about that I wanted you to ask you about. So I appreciate you bringing that up. I'll let you do it. Right. Let me remove myself from the stage, add you, and we'll go ahead and do like this.
All right, there we are. I mean, really, Rivian is just like a very undervalued EV that has a lot of potential to me. Mm-hmm. Not financial advice, obviously, but there's obviously a little bit of a cult following for it at this point. And we kind of watched Rivian do absolutely nothing for 2 years. Just been kind of chopping in this range, not doing much, mm-hmm. down bad from its all-time highs, as most IPOs do. But what we saw and where I finally got long was I was watching this like a hawk, and I was like, this is looking like compression. It looks like it's going to break out. I finally got long down in here when it retested the 100 weekly moving average, saw a nice 30% move up. And now we retested the 200 weekly SMA. So my real stop loss is pretty much the line in the sand where I entered, right about there, at 16. Mm-hmm. And as long as we stay over the 100 EMA, I'm pretty bullish on this. But on the more fundamental side, I am seeing their cars fucking everywhere. I'm not, and I know I live in a city mm-hmm. where it's like electric vehicles are a little bit more common than like the rest of the country, but consider how hated Elon is by the left wing right now. Not to get into politics or anything, but just how hated he is. There is an entire market of people who are looking for EVs that do not want to enrich Elon and give him money. And so I think that Rivian has that going for them. They're obviously working on autonomous driving. They have a little bit more tech, it seems, than Elon does yet, but that's kind of up for debate between the Tesla people and the Rivian people. Mm-hmm. I'm mostly focused on the chart, and the chart is saying this is breaking out of a 2.5 year range, and there's a small cult of people that are crazy about it. Kind of reminds me of Palantir before it fully priced in I don't know if it's going to be anything like Palantir, but it would not surprise me if we saw a move up to a new all-time high sometime in the next 3 years. It's really just kind of playing this range and hoping that a markup continues from here. Now, not financial advice. I have my fixed risk position, and if we go probably below 14, I would stop myself out, or if we close below the weekly EMA. But for now, this is a very sexy looking curve up, and I want to see it continue. Obviously, there's a lot of fundamentals and things that have to change to like really drive this up. And they have been burning a lot of money, but they're starting to burn less money. And that seems to be what's getting investors' attention lately. And we'll see what happens. But all I'm really focused on is this blue line and hoping that it continues up. I have some options, just for like transparency's sake. I have some options in my retirement account, and I've got my position of shares in my taxable account. And I'm just going to sit on it until it doesn't make sense to.
Man, I was so heavily long Rivian with calls that expired at the end of September.
Oof.
Yeah, man, it just was one of those things too, where I was expecting the breakout of that cylinder before, sometime before then, and at that point I just never re-entered. But like I fully agree with the trade. I'm like incredibly bullish on where it's heading to, so I think y'all aren't wrong. I think it's one of those things where the smartest thing to do realistically is just having like a multi-year approach, kind of like what you're talking about, where, you know, if you buy spot or if you buy any calls, I buy them way out. Like, you know, I just don't think doing anything way too short term is really the play with something like this. You know, have an extended mindset, but like, you know, it's nice having some exposure to stuff outside of just crypto and metals, etc. So, you know, I'm a fan.
I remember that you used to do a lot of like really short term options, and I always had no idea how you did that, but I saw the PNL on occasion, and obviously it worked for you in some very specific trades, especially during the COVID era. But other thing I'll say, and then we can finish up, is strategic metals have been increasingly important. REMX is VanEx ETF for strategic metals, and has kind of a nice inverted head and shoulders here, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. But we also saw this insane volume over the last few months, and I think it's probably going to keep going as long as Trump is in office and making the push on those critical metals. So this is like lithium and I forget what the rest of it. Oh my god! But this
palladium.
Is not palladium, but these are like rare earth minerals that are needed for things, but they don't have the same kind of trading market as like gold and silver. But this ETF basically allows you to capture a basket of them. I think it actually lists them down here. Manganese, titanium, tungsten, cerium, and a bunch of other stuff. So these are all needed for the tech revolution in one form or another. But the reality is just the chart looks good. I bought some a few months ago, and we'll see what happens with it. But this volume is telling us a lot. Like, look at that. It's the largest volume it's ever seen. And we will see what happens with that. I think it's just a narrative market, and you got to find the narratives that make sense to you and hold on tight.
Man, that's some wisdom. I agree. Find your lane, hold on tight, believe in it. Ideally, have a little bit of a zoomed out approach to anything that you do right now. But Dyme, dude, it's been really a pleasure getting to catch up. It's been way too long since we've done one of these, man. We got to run it back sometime soon.
I'm always here.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not followed Dyme yet, I'm going to go ahead and give one more shout out to Dyme up here for his account. Go over here, go to Crypto Paradigm, and give the man a follow. Oh, dude, you're up to 75.5 now? That's crazy.
I've been stuck at 75 to 73 for like 3 months now.
Bro, I swear I gave you like 30,000 followers during that last bull market there at the beginning. I need to give you some more. Like, I don't have that type of pull anymore. I need to give you some more shout outs. Help push you over that edge.
I have to catch up with Bold.
Okay. So is that the goal right now? Bold just hit 100.
Yeah. I mean, obviously number go up, but
well, bro, if silver keeps doing what it's doing, you're on your way.
Yeah, probably. We'll see.
All right, man. Well, I hope the generational run for Dyme continues through 2026. Looking forward to the next time that we see you. And ladies and gentlemen, really appreciate y'all joining in. I'll be back sometime in the next week. I mean, I'll be back streaming before the next week, but should have some other good guests for y'all sometime soon. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Until next time, be more bullish.